On a Hilary Mason avec nous qui a fait la première conférence de ce jeudi matin. Ça s'appelle Data Driven Future. Hilary, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for the conference. Can you give us a brief information about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my current position is data scientist in residence at Accel Partners. Accel is a venture capital firm based in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley, but I live in New York. I'm very proud of living in New York. I love it there. But my role before that was being chief scientist at Bitly. All of this is to say that I like to study human behavior through data. And I've done a lot of work around collecting data from people on the internet and then sort of analyzing things in aggregate always, about how ideas spread, how different people in different places understand things, and then try to use that to build products. So that's what I'm interested in.
Oh, that's cool. There's one detail that I don't understand. What does it mean in residence?
So in residence just means sort of hanging out with the investors. So Accel makes investments in companies all the way from tiny little ideas all the way up to giant multi-billion-dollar companies. And they're very interested in having people build companies that do interesting things with data. And so in residence means I mostly hang out and help the companies they have, or sort of talk about what it means to be building a data product. But it's a wonderful way to be working with an investment team, but not to be myself an investor. I'm very much a technologist.
Yeah, you actually vulgarize all the information so they can put money in that?
Yes, but to be
much more complex than that. But
to be honest, I think it's much more fun to build things than it is to put money in them. So I'm glad they do it, but I like what I do better.
Yeah, I agree. Can you give us a brief summary of the conference you just gave us?
Sure. So the talk I just gave was about data, sort of understanding where it came from, the history of data engineering and data systems, all the way to how people are working with data now. So the great capabilities we have as data scientists, what data scientists are, how we can do things with the data we have so cheaply that it opens up opportunities for things that we could not even think about 5 years ago.
There you go. It's so brand new.
Yes, it's very new and it's very exciting because I really do believe that we are just at the beginning of the interesting things being built with data.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it's from last year, Josh Clark was here and he gave us information about sensors, and now you're using it this year to make it actually a way of getting more data.
Absolutely.
From anywhere. So it's the beginning.
Just the beginning.
I think you showed us the picture of how data is growing.
Yes.
And it's growing a little more, and it's going to be, how can we actually visualize the fact that someday the data will be so big? I mean, is there any tools available, or we're going to have to invent them?
Both. We're at the very beginning of the set of tools we need to really understand and work with data in a way that is flexible and accurate. So the first set of tools that got built were really just for letting us count things in lots of data, which is not an easy problem. It sounds easy, but it's actually very hard when the data set is very large. The second set of tools were around letting us analyze things in a way that's very quick and beautiful and easy, and does not require weeks of engineering effort and programming. So being able to visually say, this is what I'm interested in, and get the answer back right away, rather than having to say, okay, I'm interested in this thing, now I have to invest weeks in writing code to make it happen. So the next set of things we can build now is say, okay, we've learned a lot from that, what we were doing now, what's next, right? Like what products can we build given what we've learned that we could not have built before because we didn't understand enough about the world.
And it's going to go exponentially from there.
Yes.
So we're at the starting point.
Yes.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Wow. This is, okay, lots of ideas.
I think the next few years are going to show us things that we would not even have thought were possible a couple of years ago.
There you go. Well, it's just, like I said, just the beginning. Like you said, can you give us a few key points of somebody was sitting there at the conference, what would be the key points that you would like them to remember this morning?
Okay, so the things I'd like them to remember are, first, that while data is complex, it's not very hard to work with. So it's very easy to say, I have a question, maybe I can find some data, I can gather some data, or I have data and it can give me ideas about what I can learn. They should not be afraid to just try it. And we have tools now that make that very possible, and a lot of people out there who are happy to help and support this. So I would hope that they would be excited about it and would want to do that. And second, I would hope that they would start to think about where data fits in their own lives. So I showed an example of using Bayes' rule to think about what medical data means and news headlines about medicine to hopefully help people think a little more critically about what those things mean for the way they live their lives. And then I'd hope that they would just be inspired to actually think about the things they can build now with the data they have that they couldn't do before.
The one question that I have in my head is we have to ask ourselves the right questions.
Yes.
Would you give us any kind of cue on how to be able to pinpoint the right question to ask ourselves?
That is really hard. And so the way I usually advise people to think about it is, as a person working with data, 2/3 of what you do is work with data. 1/3 is actually think about the questions you should be asking. And that means you're using data to understand something about the world you didn't understand fully before. Mm-hmm. So what is it you're really trying to understand? And to think ahead of time, what decisions will I make once I understand this thing? So what will I change in the business, in the product, in my behavior when I really understand this? And then once you have that, also think about how big an impact understanding that thing will be. So is it just a tiny improvement to something where it ultimately doesn't matter very much? Or is it going to be huge? Is it an exponential improvement? And those are the things you should spend your time on. Those questions where if you think about them carefully, you will change your behavior, you'll have more confidence in what you're doing, and it will have a big impact on what you're trying to accomplish.
Isn't it a bit scary to with words like big impact and change your life? I mean, does sometimes make people just step back and do nothing?
Oh, I hope it's the opposite, but in technology we tend to use a very aggressive vocabulary about it, because otherwise why would you bother?
Really appreciate you being with us.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.